Hello, Luscious Ones. I'm Zine Lafontaine of The Sensual Revolution, and today I'm going to take you through the 5 steps to manifesting what it is that you desire most. So I'm going to take you through the 5 steps that I personally take to manifest, and I'm also going to share with you an opportunity at the end of this video. So the 5 steps are to first and foremost, allow yourself to desire what it is that you desire. The second step is to make a decision around what it is that you desire and what you want to work with. The third step is to open up and start working with your body to really help open and allow yourself to receive these desires as they come to fruition. The fourth step is to take action on the opportunities that begin to arise as you are doing the manifestation process. And the fifth step is leaning back into trust. So now this first step, which is allowing ourselves to really desire what we desire. So what is this first one all about? Well, I encounter it quite often. It's, this idea of I should be happy with what I have, which is a noble concept if it is truth. So for a lot of us, it's not truth, right? We think we should feel that way, but underneath, in the core, we have desires for more connection, desires for more lusty sexual experiences. We have desires for more money, for a greater success, whatever that might be. And if we plaster on the surface, oh, I should not desire anything, then we're creating a big separation inside. And I recognize this a lot in certain spiritual communities where achieving a desireless state is an expanded state. It's an evolved state, right? But for a lot of us, it's like moving 10 steps up. And so if we actually have a lot of desires, but we're attempting to act like we don't, it's just a facade. It's just like a plastered on layer to look more evolved and more spiritual, when underneath you've got these really deep yearnings for something that we don't have. And this is palpable in someone, right? You can tell when there's like that, I call it fake spirituality plastered on top, where you really feel their yearning or the desire for something that is not being met. And so the first step for a lot of us is to simply desire our desires, and that is the evolution. And where does this come from? Why do we not feel like we should have desires at all? Well, for some of us, this comes from being brought up in a spiritual belief system where if you desired certain things, you would not go to the good place. Or if you desired certain things that made you not normal or not okay, especially when we're dealing with sexuality. It could come from our desires being shut down from a very early age. So for very creative people, sometimes we say, I would want this. Like, oh no, that's dangerous, or that's not a good idea, or whatever. So how were you met with your desires? This is one of the ways that we can shut down even wanting to have desires at all. So the first step, allow yourself to desire what you desire most. The next step is making a decision around what it is that you desire and what you want to be working with. So what I encounter frequently here is a level of lack of clarity around what it is you want to step forward into, not wanting to make a decision, a clear, focused decision to move forward with. And there's different reasons for that, right? There can be a level of unworthiness that we don't even know we have around this particular desire. There can be fear of the responsibility that would come with that desire if it actually came to fruition. So the next step really is to get focused and clear on what it is that you desire. And there are certain exercises that you can do to really help get clear with that by asking why. Always asking, I want that red sports car. What is it? Why do you want that red sports car? What is behind the desire? Because I want a certain level of respect. Beautiful. So your desire is a certain level of respect. Move forward with that. The third step is opening our body and our energy to allowing and receiving these desires to come to fruition, to stepping into what it is that we are desiring as it starts to show up. And I'm going to describe this more in a little bit. The fourth step is around taking action. So a lot of us sit in the desire realm, but we rarely take those steps forward when the opportunities arise. And sometimes we don't even see the opportunities arise because there are, again, other layers of stuckness in there that prevent us from actually taking action, to feel like we're strong enough, like we can hold it, like we're able to do it, or we're worthy enough to actually step into that desire. So the fourth step is taking action when we see the opportunities come through. The fifth step is leaning back into trust. Now, this is a huge one, a really personal teaching that I've experienced recently, and what has really blasted my manifestation capabilities forward in a huge way. So leaning into the fact that in a lot of ways, we are just simply trusting that everything is going to appear in the way that is absolutely best in our best interest, in the best interest of all, depending on what our North Star is and what we really focus on as either highest good or, in accordance with deepest love, whatever it is that you really hold as true for you. Leaning into the trust in how it will appear, when it will appear, through what channels it will appear, and really, really just allowing yourself to trust that it is coming. The path of manifestation is one of deep personal development. You move through each of the phases, each of the steps, and you encounter all the ways that you resist beauty and pleasure and goodness in your life. And if I can share some of the path with you that I've undergone personally around manifestation, I've had some weird, sudden manifestations that have occurred, and others that I've worked at for years and years and years. And so there's one situation where the first time that I smudged someone, which means, lighting sage, letting the smoke blow over a person to clear their energy field, was with my husband. So I did this with my husband the very first time. And then the next morning he came into our room with a bottle of champagne and said, "I just received a $200,000 bonus and we are now debt free and have plenty of money moving forward." That was one of the first indications that I was going to have a fun ride with this manifestation tool. And I've had a few other circumstances manifesting a retreat for women in Hawaii. I've encountered now very recently a sum of money that will help me step into a vision and manifestation that I've been working on for a decade. So I'm stepping into the manifestation of a home that I have dreamed up for the last 5 years, the bedroom that I envisioned 10 years ago, that looked out onto the mountain, the retreat center that I have been talking about and creating in my visions and my desires for 5 years. So I had to, accept the fact that I had desires. I had to allow myself to desire what I desire. I had to make decisions on what it is that I wanted to desire. I had to learn how to work with my body to help me open up to receiving those desires, which is a huge deal. I had to take action. I had to actually start taking action on some of the opportunities that were coming forward. And it's kind of funny because as this manifestation, especially around the home, started appearing, I didn't even recognize the opportunity. I saw this home as like, oh, yeah, there's construction to be done. There's like windows missing. Maybe this is not the best place. It's a lot of work. I don't know how to do renovations, blah, 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 until it clicked. I wanted a home that I would help design. This is the most perfect gift and manifestation that I could possibly ask for, right? But I had to recognize the opportunity as precisely what I had asked for 5 years before. And now leaning into trust. Hugest part of the whole thing was leaning into the timing. I've had this house has appeared as a manifestation, yes and a no and a yes and a no, and I've had to lean into trust over and over and over again that it will appear as it is best needed. And you know what? Even if this house doesn't turn out to be the house, I'm trusting that this is happening. It is all evolving and I am doing the work to get it there. So let's talk about that third step where we really work with our body to help us open to allowing and receiving those desires that we truly want to come to fruition. Now, working with our body, we can do it in a variety of different ways. One of the somatic approaches is really scanning our body and identifying where we have odd sensations, contractions, tension around the thought of entering into our desire. So where do we physically contract around even just thinking or envisioning ourselves in that desire as if it's come to fruition. So where do we start to feel like, oh, this is dangerous or too fast, or you haven't worked hard enough, or you're not worthy of that? Whatever comes up, great way to connect with that information. And there are tools that we can use to help nurture those areas that are contracting. So we help expand and really relax all the areas of contraction. So we help ourselves physically open up to this new reality coming to fruition. Another area that we can use is using our sexuality. So our sexuality is one of those areas that even those of us who've done spiritual or personal development work for a long time, end up with the most contractions around. It's like the last frontier of personal development for many of us, because it's so riddled with shame or guilt, or we can't talk about it, or whatever around it. There's just so much involved around sexuality that when we start to open up at that level, we really start to see that mirrored in our external world. So when we start working with the idea of receiving more pleasure in our body, we start to receive more pleasure in our lives. We start to open up to desiring what we desire sexually. We start to open up to desiring all the other things in our lives, right? It's one of those areas with the most contraction. And when you start to relax those contractions at that core place of sexuality, of our identity, then it starts to relax the contractions in so many other areas of our lives. So I have a very special offering for you. It's totally free. It's an embodied manifestation ritual, which you can download in the link below the video if you're on YouTube or Facebook. And you can go into my profile link if you're on Instagram and download that. It's a half-hour ritual where you'll be able to experience this whole manifestation process for yourself. And I've also opened a Facebook group, very new, called Sexy Free and Making Shit Happen. And you'll want to join us because in August we will have a free sexy manifestation challenge, and it's going to be really exciting. We'll go through all the steps that I just described today, and you'll be able to experience that for yourself. I would love to see you there. My name is Zine Lafontaine of The Sensual Revolution, and I believe that a conscious, alive, and ignited soul creates a conscious, alive, and ignited world. So let's create something fabulous for ourselves and for this beautiful world of ours. I will see you in the next video.